All right, and I am back. Blake the Eccentric perspective on Freedomizer Radio. So it looks like I've got our guest almost ready to go. So let me introduce. We got Anton Konev, was elected to the Albany Common Council and serves as Vice Chair of Parks, Recreation, and Youth Services Committee and member of Ad Hoc Committee on Public Access and Standing Committees on Public Safety and Human Resources and Human Rights. Anton Konev has been a civic activist his entire life and is not new to public service. He has spent his summers and vacation breaks building homes for the poor around the country. He prides himself on being an organizer of a community crime watch program to help counter the dramatic increase in criminal activity in Midtown of the city of Albany. Mr. Konev has a strong sense of civil duty and believes that our democracy can only be strengthened and protected by strong citizen involvement. He spent his childhood in Russia and witnessed the harsh treatment of people who wanted to improve their government and community. He lives his credo and is an active member of his community. All right, so let me bring him up. Anton, how are you?
Yes, good, thank you. How are you?
Excellent. So tell me, how did you find out about this NDAA?
Well, there's many activists in our area who brought this to my attention. Specifically, PANDA, the People Against National Defense Authorization Act, and Mr. Dan Johnson was actually a mayoral candidate in the city of Albany, and his name is Jessica Hoon. And we have some others who were involved in this in the past. So everybody sort of came together and went to me and said, well, let's do something about this. And, of course, I have been wanting to do something about specifically NDAA for quite some time now. And now was a good timing because of 2013 legislation did nothing for us as far as making any real changes to 2012 NDAA.
Right. So, what made you get into city council? Because you're a pretty young guy. How old are you? You're like 20s.
I'm 29 years old.
29.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
I wanted to improve my community around me, and I believe that what better way to improve your community than to get involved and fight for our rights, fight for our quality of life, and fight for our survival sometimes, because as taxes are going up and up, people are moving out of the city of Albany. And so we need to do something about it.
So is that where you? So I heard you. So you lived in Russia till how old were you?
Until I was 13 years old, and then I moved to Queens, New York City, and most recently, in 2001, I moved to Albany, graduated from the University at Albany, and stayed up here.
Oh, okay, it's kind of like the movie Coming to America. I kind of went to Queens. All right, very good.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
All right. So, is part of the reason you got involved with city council and to be an activist, does that have anything to do with maybe how life was in Russia? Did you learn anything from that, or maybe from your parents or family?
Not necessarily have anything to do with my Russian connection. It's something that I have always had a passion for. So in high school, I was a high school president. So back when we were fighting for bleachers in our stadium. Later on in college, I was fighting for better food in cafeterias. So now I'm fighting for a betterment of a larger community.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's okay. You're one of those overachiever types that likes that just really involved in that and is trying to help make a difference. No, that's very good. All right, because I was going to kind of ask you some of these questions now with this NDAA thing. I mean, do you see any? What do you think about NDAA or Section 1021? Is that have you ever seen anything like that, or were you familiar with it before these activists came up to you, or? Is that kind of
I have certainly seen an attack on liberties throughout since 2001. Since 9/11, under the pretense of fighting with terrorists. I'm not saying our national security is not important, but at the same time, we shouldn't be sacrificing those things that we have fought so long for as Americans. And I'm an immigrant. But, this is a land of immigrants, and I'm an American citizen, and I don't want things that are done in Russia where people don't have, haven't had rights, and I was born in the Soviet Union in 1983, and back then we as citizens had very little rights. Throughout the perestroika, some rights were restored to the people, but still many still feel in fear of government. Police are out of control. There's widespread corruption. And so things that I love about the United States is that everybody is equal under law. And so this one is a big one, just like the Patriot Act. Patriot Act was the first offense on our liberties, and NDAA is the next step. So many groups, the Bill of Rights Defense Committee, locally we have here Project Salem, Muslim Solidarity Committee, and of course PANDA. They all united on this and came to me, and I said, of course, we're not going to allow this kind of going on in our cities. We're not going to allow our liberties to be sacrificed in our city.
Yeah, so does this kind of remind you of something that maybe like this is like something else like the KGB would have written, or something? Is this kind of how they might react in Russia?
Oh yeah,
like this
definitely
kind of law that they would like.
Oh, definitely. Under the pretense of we're going to protect rights are being taken, and I certainly I'm a registered Democrat, so I believe in certain role of government in our lives, but when it comes to the rights that are given to us by our Constitution and the Bill of Rights, there is no sacrificing that for anything, and this is big.
No, I agree. This is I think a lot of people are stunned. We were stunned with the Patriot Act, and then NDAA. They signed that on New Year's when people weren't paying attention. I don't think a lot of people out there still even know what this is all about. So it is. People need to become aware of that and just get rid of that Section 1021. I don't understand. Do you have any idea why they would just why they would need something to get rid of due process? Is there ever a situation where they just have to for monetary reasons, or I can't think of anything that makes any sense of why they would need to waive people's rights to a due process.
Well, this whole thing of secrecy of government, and they look into again under the pretense of protecting everybody. They have established this veil of secrecy around our government and around law enforcement, and this is not something that should be done. But they looking for quickest way possible to say that we're protecting all of us and that we are safe from intrusion, so on. But in doing that, they are allowing different type of intrusion.
So do you see a lot of parallels? No, you haven't lived in this country that long, and maybe because you kind of are uniquely qualified because you've been in both areas of Cold War Russia and modern day. Do you see a lot of parallels between the two? United States today.
Well, there's some parallel for sure. It's that kind of violations of liberties under the pretense of common good that happened in the Soviet Union. It's certainly the United States has had some history of violating its citizens' rights. We have the Japanese encampment and other things where American citizens were under broad category put in encampment, and it's not something new. But we haven't had that in a while, so since the Japanese encampment, basically, and we shouldn't. There's other ways to protect American citizens without violating their rights.
Yeah, I totally agree. So let's see. I'm trying to. Think where I want to go to. So, do you think the United States maybe is in danger? Because I kind of sometimes I think of the America as an empire, much like Russia, much like Britain in the past, maybe even like Rome. Do you kind of see the same type of thing? Do you fear of that kind of same thing type of happening? And I mean, how did that? Well, I don't want to. Let me stop you there. Stop right there. But do you think that we're in that kind of a danger zone?
I think there's enough of a pushback that many folks are saying that there's boundaries for government that were established under the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. This is not America. We have in the past have always been careful that the government can only go so far. And so now we have to have a pushback saying that you can't do this. And I think if there's enough pushback, we're not that far in. Even the president said, "Well, I'm not gonna use these powers that are given to me." The question is, why would those powers even need to be in law? Period. And that's something that we need to change.
So how did so were you were in Russia during the collapse of the former Soviet Union?
I was pretty young, but yes, I was there, and I remember the whole Swansea playing on TV, and Swan Lake, I'm sorry, playing on TV, and the demonstrations, and my uncle was on in the square in St. Petersburg because of the demonstrations in both Moscow and St. Petersburg.
Oh, okay, and so what happened? Like, I mean, I don't know how the economy affected you, or how did that affect, like, the people around you and your neighbors and stuff? Did anything go into chaos, or was there law and order?
Certainly, many government jobs went into chaos, and for a while, was shortage of regular products. Until sort of was a stabilizing force, economy sort of stabilized itself. But it was a scary time when the economy was very weak and the government was weak. And I'm not talking the type of weak where they didn't have a control, but the economy is very, very important. It's very important that the government supports the economy, and that it's that the trade relations are normalized and all those things. And it certainly was a big imbalance at the time in Russia, and all that created hardships for regular people.
So what happened, like, when the economy went, and how did you get, like, fuel or food or anything like that? Did that?
Well, it was a sort of a statewide universal food stamp system. So you got your apportionment of food, and you had to be connected in order to get more than the government, set for you to have. There were lines everywhere to get basic things of basic need. It was a very hard time for the people.
I can only imagine. I'm kind of wondering if that's going to happen here, and how people should be prepared just in case, because it looks like I see a lot of these dangerous parallels of our empire, and these it's things like NDAA that are pretty cause for concern that shouldn't belong here. And let's see here. And I was kind of curious. I was talking last week about Pravda. You familiar with Pravda during the Cold War?
Yeah.
They were kind of a mouthpiece for the establishment, right?
Yeah, we were the mouthpiece for the Soviet government, yeah.
All right.
And that's a kind of, was Pravda, and there was one source of TV news. It was a government channel, and there was no other alternatives. So you only heard what the government wanted you to hear. And that's a scary thing to happen.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Are you familiar with the with Dianne Feinstein and Chucky Schumer trying to define who can be a journalist, and attacking other alternative viewpoints?
Certainly we have gone a long way of providing information in the United States, and we have this the bloggers and alternative media, and it certainly is great to produce all kinds of information, allow all kinds of information flow. So yeah, some of the proposals that are out there are a little bit scary. Some of us folks in government, they don't like how they being portrayed. But the thing about it is that you don't have to like it, but there's going to be always two points of view. And that's what democracy is about. It's about allowing both points of view to flow out there.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. People should get, different perspectives on things, whether it's from the left to the right or alternative sources, and then kind of find out what the truth, where it lies in the middle somewhere, perhaps, or who is telling the truth, just by having people use their common sense or critical thinking skills to find out where it goes. And do you remember? Did anything happen to the Pravda? Like, what happened to the journalists or such, or the news people of Pravda, or some of these Soviet these government mouthpieces, because they were lying to the people? Was there ever any kind of retaliation, or did they ever get in any kind of trouble for that, for kind of misleading their own people?
I'm sorry? As far as...
Yeah, like let's say people of Pravda, or your state-run media in the former Soviet Union, did they get any kind of trouble with the people because they were kind of being lied to by certain people?
Well, yeah, there certainly was was some. That's why a lot of people stopped reading Pravda. Once they had alternative sources, they stopped their subscriptions and they stopped reading it, and they started reading alternative sources. I don't know necessarily, and that's the whole thing of the free economy and a free world, is that you have a choice on what to read and what not to read, and so I think that's the majority of what happened.
Yeah, so I kind of wonder what would happen to, maybe like a Chris Matthews or maybe a Bill O'Reilly if people, if anything ever happened with the country, and we're like, hey, you were lying to us all these years. What's going on? Not that I want anything like bad to happen, but people have to call it out at some point. So I'm getting sidetracked here. How about what do you think about, say, Edward Snowden? Since we're on, just speaking of Russia real quick, just to get a quick take on that.
Well, I think Russia very much doesn't believe in political prosecution, and I think one of what they believe the Snowden is political prosecution, because you can't blame Snowden. He didn't do much wrong. He might have the world had the right to know about some of these obnoxious things that the United States government did, and the citizens of the United States had a right to know. And so he, in a sense, Snowden was protecting our right to know. Again, we have this secrecy thing. So, Russia gave him political asylum, to which he was rightfully entitled to.
No, I completely agree. And a quick word on what do you think of Vladimir Putin?
I certainly have problems with some of his philosophies. Again, we had talking about liberties. For example, a gay and lesbian parades are banned in Russia, and any kind of display of that is banned in Russia. And again, I don't believe in that kind of invasion of people's rights to practice what they believe in. On one hand, that is a bad thing. On another hand, Putin is a very good leader in the vote for Russia. I think this whole Syria thing really showed what a great leader Vladimir Putin is as far as getting rid of propaganda and saving the vote from a war. And then economically, Putin has done a lot of good things for Russia as compared to where it used to be under Yeltsin. But again, there's issues with every single leader. So it's a mixed bag. I hope
right.
It's a mixed bag, so I can't say one way or another. It's not like he's not an evil person, but at the same time, he is not a perfect person either. There's a lot of issues there.
Oh, I totally agree, and it's but yeah, he has done a lot of good things with the Syria. He's some people almost think he's now the leader of the free world, where we used to kind of think that was the president of the United States, but it looks like Putin's a voice of reason. But for all of his flaws, yes, but he still does some good things. And did you happen to catch? Speaking of Pravda, did you happen to catch John McCain in his article that he wrote in Pravda towards the Russian people?
No, actually, I must have missed that one. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, no worries. All right, if you get a chance, I would check that one out. Pravda, John McCain. Almost kind of jokey. He was even saying that, implying that America, we don't persecute our journalists, and I thought that was absolutely insane. When there's been so many people that have been scrutinized, people like James Rosen or Cheryl Atkinson or Breitbart or Aaron Swartz or Michael Hastings or Barrett Brown or even Glenn Greenwald and the Snowden and Bradley Manning. I thought that was pretty amusing, but not kind of in a sad way. But let me get back. I don't want to keep you too long, but I just why don't you tell us about this NDAA. What is going on in the city council over there? What's going on with the NDAA, the legislation that you're putting together? What are you trying to do, and where are you at?
Well, I'm hoping that on October 7th, with some pressure in the meantime for the council members to really see that this NDAA is wrong, and we should be protecting people's liberties. We did a similar resolution against the Patriot Act in the past as a council, actually before I was on the council. And I'm hoping that on October 7th we will be passing this resolution. In the meantime, I encourage all the residents of the city of Albany and anybody who is concerned with liberties to write to the city council or city of Albany, so that members see that this is the right thing. I think there's some misinformation. Obviously there's some conflicting legal opinions on NDAA, mainly because Attorney General Holder has been defending it. But in the end, just on its basics, it's a wrong thing to allow any kind of indefinite detention in the United States is wrong, and we shouldn't be allowing it.
No, so as Eric Holder, yeah, he's not one of my favorites. So, well,
there's some people who will say, well, if Eric Holder says it's constitutional, it must be constitutional. So we have at least one member on the city council, Michael O'Brien, very specifically, who believes the propaganda he's been fed by somebody. I don't know who it is.
Wow. Yeah, who knows? I mean, they had to use executive privilege to save Eric Holder. Most people think that he should step down, or they should. He's hasn't been a very good defender of our rights. Not been a very good person. So let me see here. So let me paint a scenario. So, like, now with the new with your legislation that you're proposing, if that goes into effect, now there's calling it some of the toughest anti-NDAA legislation. So let's say Eric Holder decides he wants to arrest a journalist in Albany. And, because he doesn't like what they're saying, but he wants to say it's part of terrorism, and then, hey, we can use NDAA. So what would happen with your legislation that would prevent that from happening if this goes through?
Specifically, my resolution instructs all public agencies to decline requests by federal agencies acting under detention powers or similar law and authority that could infringe upon residents' freedom of speech, religion, assembly, privacy, or rights to counsel. We also expect all federal and state law enforcement officials acting within the city to work in accordance with local law and in cooperation with Albany Police Department by allowing any detainees not serving in the armed forces amongst Albany residents or visitors access to trial, counsel, and due process. Under Article 3, the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments of the Constitution of the United States. So it's very explicit. We also this resolution is also asking for the federal government to repeal NDAA detention provisions. And we're also looking forward to the state government passing similar things. I know California recently passed that they're not going to be enforcing NDAA in the state of California. I know that many people think that their law is not perfect, but I think on the state level something could be done as well.
Very good. So what so how do people get involved in it? Can we give out maybe numbers, websites? How do people get involved and help out with you and your cause?
Well, there's few ways. One is I'm always available at my email at konevforcouncil@gmail.com. That's KONEVFORCOUNCIL@gmail.com. And they could contact me directly, or they could contact the city clerk and the clerk to the Common Council, Mr. Nala Woodard, at nwoodard@albanyny.gov, and that's NWOODARD at Albany, ALBANYNY.gov. And by contacting him, they could share their opinions of NDAA and this particular resolution, and he would get that to the entire council.
Great. All right. So then, so you got October 7th. You said that's the next. That's
and
the
October
key thing.
7th, yes. We have 7 p.m. A meeting of the City Council, at which we're hopefully going to be passing. Before the passage at 7 p.m., there's an opportunity for public comment. So if anybody is in close capacity, close to Albany, New York, they don't have to be a resident of the city of Albany in order to speak. All they have to do is to sign up to speak shortly before 7 p.m., and they could express their opinion. And hopefully my colleagues will listen to it and I think we are one vote away from the passage from the current folks who have currently indicated that we're going to be supporting it, and hopefully this will pass overwhelmingly.
Great. No, I hope it does. I'm really excited about this, and I'm really I'm thankful for you. And it's amazing that somebody, you kind of experienced this stuff. You grew up in Russia, and maybe you kind of seeing some of these kind of dangerous warning signs happening here in America, and you're working with us and trying to help us and do the right thing here and prevent something like this from happening again over here. You've learned from these mistakes before, so no, I thank you, Anton, for being here. Is there anything else you want to do? Anything else you wanted to say?
No, thank you very much for bringing attention to this important matter and this important legislation that we hope will pass in Albany. And Albany is the capital state of New York, so we're sending a message to federal and state elected officials about this. And I'm hoping that cities throughout the United States will continue expressing their opinion on this dangerous precedent that this federal legislation sets.
Yeah, well said. Thank you. And I thank you again for your courage in standing up and helping us out like that. All right, Anton, well, I'm going to look forward to, watching these developments over the next couple weeks. So take care and keep up the good fight, man.
Thank you.